It's that time again. We're going to be heading on a road trip. We're going to Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Population 47,000 people. We're going to be talking to two particular folks. One's going to be David Frost, who comes through town. He's from South Africa. We're going to discover what God's doing in his life. And then we're going to meet up with Steve Ramp, Presbyterian USA minister at Westminster Presbyterian Church. We've got some surprises along the way. Stick around. Join us for the next episode of Road in Between.
Thoughts keep running through my head as I walk this road with nothing ahead. The sun beams down on my face as I walk this road that leads to amazing grace.
Today I want to introduce you to David Frost. David Frost is a professional golfer on the PGA Tour. Now he's on the Champions Tour. And he has traveled the world, and for some strange reason, David and I have had a road in between, and we have interacted, and God has placed us together.
It's really nice to be back here with you, Tom. I know we've been on a journey ourselves together over the years. We've connected in different spots in the country, and I think the next journey is for you to come visit me in South Africa.
I'd love it. David grew up in South Africa. He's been a Presbyterian all his life. He's had a faith journey that does not have a lot of dynamic experiences. He kind of grew up in the faith. So David was at Canebrake, and he put on this golf clinic and chipping and putting clinic, and then he put on this great wine tasting with his wife Colleen and a lot of friends that came from Hattiesburg. It was a really good event.
So the club faces the ball. You don't open it, because now once you open it, you're going to outrun the club, and then you're going to get stuck behind it.
Oh, I bet he will.
So look, are you going to just stand there, or are you going to grab a glass of wine?
We would love to.
Absolutely.
What I like about David is, as famous as he is just down to earth. He is very easy to talk to, and he's really interested in your golf game.
So this American guy comes to Scotland, and he misses the green, and the caddy says, take the 7-iron. He says, no, give me the lob wedge. So anyway, takes out the lob wedge, and the ground is always hard like this, and in the middle of the ball, and across the green. Second hole, same thing. Third hole, same thing. Eventually the caddy says, the guy says to the caddy, okay, give me that 7-iron here.
David's one of the very best putters in PGA Tour history. And what he has taught me is it's really not the putter you have, it's the one who holds the putter. And he has shown us many styles of how a lot of people putt and what works. And he's got a definite way that it works for him. It's really about putting the ball in the hole, and David Frost is an amazing putter.
It must have been a mistake.
Nobody makes that putt.
Past that All right, so you see how perpendicular my putter is? One was enough, eh?
He loves to share his gifts for golf, but also loves to share the gift of life around a good glass of wine.
So yeah, it's just nice to have incorporated this little journey from New Orleans to here on my way to, where am I going? Beau Rivage in Biloxi. So it's just incorporated a little bit of the wine side of my career.
What's interesting about David, he's not only a professional golfer, and he's set all kinds of records. He has the lowest round of golf at the old course at St. Andrews. He's won 10 professional tournaments. He's won all over the world, but he is also a businessman. He has a winery in South Africa, and that winery has been part of his family land for generations and generations. In fact, that land has been a winery since 1673. And so David Frost goes around the country and he plays golf, but he also shares his love for people and his love for the fruit of the vine.
As we know, wine's the symbol of joy throughout the scriptures, and I'm excited to be with you in this journey.
Yes, it's actually amazing how many times wine is mentioned in the Bible. So, but not too much of it.
That's right. Moderation.
Yeah.
Good Presbyterians.
What's interesting about wine is that wine is the symbol of joy in the Bible. And as soon as Noah got off the boat, he planted a vineyard. And it was a reminder of God's blessing and God's gift of grace. It's also a symbol of the fruit of the vine. And God says, unless you are part of the vine, you will not grow. It's also a reminder of joy. And wine represents that. His very first miracle Jesus performed, he turned water into wine. He took muddy water and he made Merlot, and it was the very best. David, for me, represents a lot of people in their faith journey. They are steady, they are faithful, they are honest, they are good people. And faith is a part of who he is. I went to his wedding down in West Palm Beach, Florida, a number of years ago, and Paige and I were invited into this small wedding, and we looked around and all these professional golfers that we'd seen on TV were there. And it was then that we realized what a great friend David is. He married a beautiful woman named Colleen, and together they are traveling the world, and they're modeling for us new beginnings and a beautiful marriage. You see, David understands what faith is really about. It's about the table. It's about sharing the gifts of bread and wine and enjoying one another's fellowship, and also celebrating not only in the low points of life, but then being able to celebrate in the good times. That's what David Frost has done for me, and I love sharing his stories with you as well as his gifts of golf. Stick around, we'll be right back.
John O'Neill Johnson Toyota has been serving customers for over 20 years with integrity, honesty, and value. We want to thank you, our customers, for helping us win so many awards. Now we're #1 in Gulf States Toyota for market share 2 years in a row. Multiple winner of Toyota's President Award and 6-time Gold Dealer recognition. And the reason is simple. Customer satisfaction is our #1 priority.
John O'Neill Johnson, a name you can trust. Toyota, a product you can depend on.
Harvest Grill, where great food and gatherings happen in the heart of downtown Meridian. Open for lunch and dinner, Tuesday through Saturday. Come dine with us and experience traditional recipes with a fresh, surprising new flavor. Visit harvestgrillms.com to view our menu and hours.
Welcome back to The Road in Between. This was my first time at Canebrake Country Club, a fantastic place. Trey Wilson is the pro there. We'd love for you to go down and see it and enjoy the course. About a month after being with David Frost, Westminster Presbyterian Church put on a golf tournament there, and we had a fantastic time. We brought in lots and lots of people, and we raised money for water mission around the globe through Living Waters of the World, and we were able to share kind of this blend of culture in Christ about faith and sports. And we went to Canebrake Country Club and we interviewed a number of people, and we'd like to share with you what took place on that particular day.
We are here with 3 missionaries at Canebrake Country Club of all places because they are active in Living Waters Mission. Tell us about that. We've got Eric and Karen and Lee. Tell us about your mission and how God called you into it.
Okay. It's a worldwide mission to supply clean water to the people that need it. It started in Mississippi, we're proud to say, and that's an international mission with 790 installations worldwide. In El Salvador, where we go, we have 17. It's a non-denominational ministry, but it is started by the Presbyterian Church. how do you get involved? Biggest way I know to get involved is ask God, what can I do? And this is a strange mixture of missionary and just helping people. We train them how to put a water system in. We don't dig wells, we use available water. We teach them how to manage it, put it together, educate them on the use of the water, and we sign a covenant with them for 3 years. So they're not left alone. We go back and make sure, for instance, the 790 that we have worldwide, no drips, no runs, no errors. They all function or in a functioning mode. So
how about that? Well, Karen and Eric, what about you? How did y'all get involved?
Well, we got involved through Westminster Presbyterian. Of course, we learned more about the water mission and have gone through the official training arm, Clean Water University. Then we had the opportunity to go on a trip with Lee's church as well as Trinity Presbyterian in Starkville this past March. So we followed the experts. We went along. There were 8 of us, and we visited sites who need clean water, and then we visited some of their existing installations. We met the people. We heard their needs, and it is a true need. They have most of the water in El Salvador and some of the other Central American countries is just not clean. It's not healthy for consumption. And so, as Lee mentioned, we help them take their existing water source and make it healthy. All God's children need healthy water.
I think that's one of the unique aspects of our mission is the fact that we're a consortium, if you will, of 3 different Presbyterian churches here in Mississippi, forming one big team to accomplish what we all feel is God's directive to bring clean water to people of El Salvador. And it's an absolute delight to work with Lee and Tom up in Starkville and all the other people involved.
So the proceeds from today's tournament will go directly to help our upcoming trips. We hope to make a trip in December and then go back in March for 2 installations. And so our in-country coordinator is working hard on the scenes to make sure everything is lined up so that when we get back in country, we won't have any downtime. We'll hit the ground running.
One of the great things about this golf tournament was each member got to bring a friend. It's a great outreach. It's a great way to show people that the church is really more than a building. It's about people. And the people just like we are. People who are struggling, people who are celebrating. And it's that blend of living between hope and hopelessness, or hope and suffering. And there were a lot of storylines that were there that day. You know, that's what I love about sharing the Missionscape model of how we can blend our faith out in culture, and golf is a great way to do that. It's a terrific time for us to be outside, to enjoy nature and to see God's beauty. You know, most of the time when you go to a golf course, you want to avoid water at all costs. It's the hazard that once you hit it in the water, you can't retrieve it.
Brim, 3, Opie Taylor. Yes.
I can play that.
Tell us about it. Tell us about a Missionscape.
Well, I decided to go fishing for the day and walk with Jesus and walk to the water.
Water in the Bible really is the gift of life. And as we come through the birth waters of creation, as Israel went through the Red Sea and were baptized in a way, getting away from Pharaoh, and then Jesus turning water into wine, it's a beautiful reminder that God uses nature to show God's beautiful and loving spirit. When we come back, we're going to take a look at the theology of this journey of life through the sacraments. We're going to be with Reverend Steve Ramp, who is preparing to retire from Westminster Presbyterian Church, and he's going to be sharing with us a reflection upon his ministry. Stick around, we'll be right back.
What's in a letter? If you're Mitchell Signs and Imprints, one letter means everything, and it's in the name. Mississippi Meridian. Mitchell Signs, Imprints. Two companies that help you reach your clients, whether it's big or small. And just like the name says, Mitchell Signs and Imprints are local. Meridian people, Mississippi pride. From quality signs to the perfect promotional product, see why Mitchell Signs and Imprints have been earning Mississippi's trust for more than 100 years. Check them out on Facebook for special deals and more information.
Vision, quality, experience. Glass Incorporated's expert glaziers can handle single window panes to entire high-rise buildings. Whether you need storefront windows, skylights, mirrors, or shower enclosures, no job is too big or too small. Glass Incorporated, your commercial and residential glass experts. Locations in Meridian, Orange Beach, and the Mississippi Gulf Coast.
Welcome back to The Road in Between. You know, along your road in between, you meet people that really impact your life. And at this season of my life, I came back in touch with a friend named Steve Ramp. And Steve has a great story about his journey from being an attorney to becoming a pastor. We're going to be going down to his church at Westminster Presbyterian Church. We're going to go into the beautiful sanctuary, and we're going to hear the story of how God used him at a very important time in the life of that church, and an amazing story of what took place on February 10th, 2013.
Yeah, I grew up in the church, went to church whenever the doors were open, and that was just a big part of my life until I was 18. Graduated from high school, went off to college, and at that point, like a lot of other people, I sort of drifted away, and I studied philosophy, and I began to look at all kinds of options and alternatives to faith, and took a break from my Presbyterian roots. But I remember before and after, when you talk about faith, before I struggled. I read, I wanted to understand, I tried to make sense out of it. And of course, I was doing it out of my own intellectual capital, which was pretty limited. And it just wasn't clicking for me. And then something happened in my life where I realized that I've been reclaimed by grace, and I'm loved and valued by God, and Jesus is not just an idea or a historical person, but he's alive. He loves me. He loves all of us. And it is as though blinders were lifted for me. And from that point on, my life changed. I sort of backed into it. I was a very secular attorney, and then God got a hold of me and said seminary. And so I said, well, I'll go to seminary and learn, and I guess I'll go back and practice law, because that's what I knew how to do. But along the way, of course, the journey changed, and I'm glad it did. I'm glad it did. And so my law background was wonderful in many ways, but I'm glad that part of my life was over and a new chapter began in ministry. And I have been a pastor now for 26 years, and that's about to come to an end in December. So God's been faithful, God's been good, and faith has allowed me to make sense of it in my life. I'm part of a story, the story of God creating a people, God choosing a people, God teaching a people, calling a people, and I'm part of that. That's my story.
Tell me about your experience here in Westminster.
Well, I came here in 2003, and I decided I'm not going to do anything except love these people and get to know them. And I'll just see what God is up to. I don't bring an agenda. I'll just sit back and wait and be patient, which is not my nature, but that's what I thought I would do. And one thing led to another, and we had Hurricane Katrina. And Hurricane Katrina came, and there was so much damage in our community and on the coast and throughout Mississippi that we mobilized people. We bought some property behind us, and we housed volunteers. And so we would go out on a cruise, or work cruise, week after week after week, and it got the whole church mobilized to be in mission. And it was really a godsend to us. Our people weren't hurt too badly, and we were able to get involved with that. So that was neat. We acquired some property around the church, and that was good. And then in 2013, the tornado came through town and almost destroyed the church. There were pine trees sticking through the windows and holes in the roof, and it looked like a moonscape. And we once again mobilized for mission. We spent 2 years over at Parkway Heights Methodist Church. They adopted us and took us in and treated us with love and care, and we needed that. And after 2 years, we were able to rebuild and come back.
Now, the day of the tornado, y'all had a meeting here.
Right, we had a meeting we had a session meeting. We reconstituted the architectural steering committee because we knew we needed to expand, but we didn't know how. And we had a musical production here called the Meister Singers. They sang in the sanctuary. Sirens were going off, and the weather was terrible. We kept thinking, should we just go home? And we said, well, we'll finish this program. And we finished the program at 4, and at 5:30, this F4 tornado came through and ripped the roof off. And fortunately, nobody was injured, but it was amazing to go from music to chaos overnight. And the next day, I showed up with an architect, and we'd surveyed the damage, and he said it was about $4.5 million of damage. And I said, well, that's not good news because we have about $2.5 million of insurance. So I don't know how that's going to work out, but it did, and God provided, and we were able to rebuild our church, and we're back stronger than ever. It was an extreme makeover when you think about it. We got new electrical, new air conditioning, new everything. We kept the old part of the building, we expanded, and so it turned out to be a blessing, a well-disguised blessing, but it was, and I think the church is now stronger than ever.
And the people hung in there through that transition of being over there at the Methodist Church.
It was so interesting. The first day we were there, people said, what are we going to do to repay them? And I said, we're not going to do anything. We're going to say thank you, and we're going to receive their grace. They need to give it, we need to receive it, and we need to learn how to receive it. And we did for 2 years. And that was a little uncomfortable at first because it's a lot easier to give than to receive. But we managed to learn that lesson. And now we're back in the business of giving it away. And so you have to be on both sides of that to appreciate how God works.
Steve Ramp represents for many of us someone who uses his gifts for ministry. He knows who he is, he knows who he's not, and he's willing to delegate and invite others into the life of the church as leaders, as lay people, and also as staff. He invited me in this past year to work with him to encourage the members to discover their story and how God uses all of us in our mission fields at home, at work, and beyond.
Well, I sat in the pews for 40 years, and I used to hear blah, 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 and they would take me to Bible land, and they would leave me in Bible land, and I need someone to help me apply it to my life. Okay, this happened, and that's wonderful. What does it mean to me? Why does that matter in our lives? How does that shape how we relate to one another? And so I really try to work on getting the message up off the page. It's turning ink into blood and getting it where people can say, yeah, that is really good news. That's exciting. That's true. That's real. That's worth changing the way I live for.
Absolutely. Well, you've done a really good job of delegating, recognizing your strengths for ministry, and then sharing the other parts of ministry with those who have those gifts.
Well, I would not do well in a very large church, I don't think, because you'd have to be so keyed to administration. But I love it when ministry breaks out in a church and I have nothing to do with it. It's somebody gets an idea and they say, can we do that? I'll say, absolutely, go for it. How can I help you? And when that and there's ownership of that and it happens, to me, that is so exciting to see And that's what I want. I want to help equip people and encourage people to live out their faith the way God calls them to.
You know, when you go through the storms of life, you wonder, why did this happen to me? And then you discover that even through tough times, even through bad times, all things work together for good for those who love God, those called according to His purpose. And so it really is an opportunity for people to, once they get over the shock and the anger and the denial and all of the part of grief and loss, then what? And how can groups come together to rebuild? What amazes me about Steve Ramp is he was able to keep the core of who he was, even through not only the storm that happened at the church, but also the reality that his wife was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. And he invited me in to help with the last year of his ministry at Westminster Presbyterian. What a great honor that was. And they really modeled for us how to grow in their marriage and how to continue to be a leader even through disease and adversity. You know, when you think about the storms of your life and Jesus coming to still the storms, oftentimes it doesn't happen automatic, but it takes a long time. We're reminded of the fact that God loves us through the storms. In fact, He created the world while the world was still chaotic and dark and void, and He hovered over the waters and He said, "Let there be light." And so if you're struggling with a storm in your life, don't give up. Know that God is hovering over you now, and He's ready to create anew, rebuild, restore, and bring you back to life. Road in Between is brought to you by John O'Neill Johnson Motor Company, Glass Incorporated, Construction Services, Archer Architecture, Bench Warmers Sports Grill, HH Production, Cooper Construction, Harvest Grill, Marcello Cranes, Mitchell Signs, Imprints, Modern Outfitters, Mississippi Beverage and Water, Nationwide Insurance, Woodstock Furniture. And as we close, I'm reminded here at Grace Fellowship Baptist Church of the cross that is behind me. And it reminds us that it is the great plus sign that God stretched out His arms and He said, "I love you to the end." We're grateful for all churches, whatever denomination, each of us to find our place and how we can minister to those around us. Until next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make His face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you this day and forevermore.
Thoughts keep running through my head as I walk this road with nothing ahead. The sun beams down on my face as I walk this road that leads to amazing grace.